A division that is always filled with promise and potential, and this year looks to be no different. The NFC South is always one of my favorites to break down and predict every team's record for the upcoming NFL season because it is a division that year after year is wide open. As always, drop your predictions in the comments section, whether player or team, and let's get into it. We'll kick it off here with a team that is tied for the lowest over-under win total in 2025. That is with my Cleveland Browns, so that should tell you all you need to know about the New Orleans Saints this year. But I will say, in their defense, you brought in Kellen Moore, a first-time head coach looking to make his mark, and he's looking to bring some much-needed juice to this organization, and I'm excited to see what he can do offensively with the New Orleans Saints. Now, ever since Kellen Moore took the job, they've had to scramble, man. Derek Carr was forced to retire, basically, from the game of football, so now you're looking to improve not only this roster, but to get the guy that's going to play the most important position on any football team, the quarterback. So you went to the NFL draft, and you had to, I'm sure, go through a lot of hurdles with Shedeur Sanders and others. You settled on the quarterback that you saw fit in Tyler Shough, and it was a heavily criticized pick, but in their defense, he's seen a lot of football. He's played a lot of football there at Louisville and other organizations at the collegiate level. But now outside of that, this is why I love their draft. You got Kelvin Banks, maybe the best tackle in the class. And you also got Jonas Sanker out of Virginia, who can be used in a variety of different ways. You also picked up Justin Reed in the offseason. Devon Godchaux there to help out on the defensive line. So now on the back end of this defense, Kellen Moore has Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, Jonas Sanker, and Justin Reed, that he can flip those guys around in a multitude of ways. Whether if you want to throw them in the box, in the slot, on the back end, you can use these dudes in so many ways. So that's something that is not talked about, but I am looking forward to seeing how the Saints use all three of those guys on the field at the same time. But outside of that, let's just get into it. It's not going to be pretty this year. You're going to lose a lot of games, but on the plus side, Saints fans, you're going to get experience from your head coach in Kellen Moore, and you're now going to have the best pick going into 2026. I gave you 3 wins. This is a team that a lot of people say are going to go winless. It's the NFL, right? These are the best of the best athletes in the world. On any given Sunday, anything can happen. I just don't think the Saints are going to be coming out on top a lot of the Sundays. I have you beating Carolina, beating Atlanta, which is the big one, and also Miami. But outside of that, you see it, a lot of red, not pretty. But hey, you get the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, and you get your pick of the litter. Who's going to be the guy at quarterback that could change this organization going into 2026 and beyond? Well, Saints fans, you're going to have that on your plate. Now, a team that has dominated this division as far as winning it over the last decade is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Whether if it's Bruce Arians and Tom Brady or Baker Mayfield and, of course, Todd Bowles. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have had their way in recent years, and this year, I think they've only gotten better. You bring in Emeka Egbuka in the draft, a bit of a shocker pick there in the middle of it, but he has been the most targeted receiver per all reports there so far in training camp for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I'm excited to see what he can do next to Baker, next to Jalen McMillan, who had a breakout year last year, and Mike Evans, who we know what he does. This offense should just throw 50 times a game, and they're going to light up scoreboards across the NFL, which is why I think they're going to win a lot of games that maybe on paper they shouldn't. Ultimately, you'll see that in just a moment. Now, on defense, you brought in Hassan Reddick to help out the front end, and also Benjamin Morrison in the secondary, which he was one of my favorite players in the NFL draft this year. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers had a good offseason. You didn't lose much, so I think that will carry on into the season. Now, you did lose Liam Cohen. I forgot to mention that. You lost your offensive coordinator, but that's nothing new to Baker Mayfield. He's had almost a new offensive coordinator every year of his career, so he's going to be used to adapting to a new system, and so should these weapons. Now, to start the season, this is a team that has a favorable bye week in the middle of your season, especially in a division that is wide open. I think you beat Atlanta to kick off the year. I gave the Texans that big one on the road for Tampa Bay going into Houston. I gave the Texans that one. But ultimately, I think you get some big-time wins on your schedule in the first and second half of your schedule. Again, I think this will be a top 3 offense. Philadelphia at home, I think you get a big win there. I think you go into Detroit just a few weeks later and get a big win there. So this is a team that, sure, you're 5-3 at the midseason mark, but you are proving to yourselves and to your fan base, we can win these big-time matchups, which you necessarily haven't always been able to do since Tom Brady left town. Now, in the second half of the year, You get another couple big time wins. You beat Buffalo in Buffalo. So now if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you're looking at your season and you're saying, we are 10-7, we won our division, and we beat Philadelphia, Detroit in Detroit, and Buffalo in Buffalo. I think no matter what seed you are, you're going to be feeling pretty confident about your chances in the playoffs. Outside of that, you win a lot of your divisional games. You beat Arizona, Miami to close out the second half of the year. Some key NFC games there. But outside of that, 10-7, I think you win the division. I don't see much changing from years prior. Now for Carolina, they're the bit of a wild card this year, as they were last year. We all bought into some of their hype last year. It didn't really go in our favor. But now this year, they've added a lot of key pieces, and though they are still the youngest team in football, they have more potential this year and more promise than in years prior. You bring in Tedero McMillan, the number one true wide receiver in the class, and you also helped out this defensive line group, right? Nick Scourton, I'm not a big fan of him, but Princely Uman-Mielen out of Ole Miss, he has all the physical tools in the world to be dominant at the NFL level. It's all about now, can Carolina bring that out of him? Again, I love his tape there at Ole Miss. Has a tendency to play a little bit upright, but ultimately, Princely Uman-Mielen, Ted McMillan should be key pieces of this roster for years to come. Outside of that, you bring in Rico Dowdle. You didn't really lose many key pieces. Jacksonville, I think you do open up the year with a win under year 2 with Dave Canales and Bryce Young together. Outside of that, you just have a lot of tough games and tough environments in the first half of your schedule. In Arizona, I just think they're a better football team, and you're on the road. Atlanta, divisional matchup. New England, in New England, they've gotten tremendously better, and they're going to be a lot better coached. Miami, I think you do get that one. I think you can get under to a skin. Ultimately, I don't think Miami's a very good team. Dallas, I gave Dallas that one. When they're healthy, they're a pretty good team. The Jets, I gave you that one. But Buffalo, Green Bay, in Green Bay, when they really turn the season around, historically, right? Green Bay always does better in the second half of the year. Ultimately, you're 3-6 in the first 9 weeks. It's not pretty, Carolina, but this could be where things turn around. Let's talk about it. New Orleans, you lose that one, giving New Orleans their first win on the season, so that's a bit of a bummer. But you beat Atlanta, you're going into San Fran, and then you play the Rams, two teams that are so good in the NFC side of things. So you drop to 4-9 going into a much needed and late bye week. But Carolina fans, trust me when I say that these next 4 weeks, just like last year, are going to be where you take away your biggest takeaways. This is a key part for this roster. It's a key part in time of the season for Bryce Young and Dave Canales. And I think they saved their jobs yet again. Beating New Orleans, beating Tampa Bay when they rest their starters. You beat Seattle and you lose to Tampa Bay, of course, splitting that season series. Ultimately, though, you improve by 2 games this year. You go 7-10, and this is a year, to me, where it's not about the win-loss column. I don't want to see Carolina be in the playoff mix. If they are, great. But this year, I think success for the Carolina Panthers is just being in a lot of games that you're not supposed to. Giving fights to Buffalo. Putting up a fight with Green Bay in Lambeau. Same with the Rams in San Francisco. Just be in a lot of games, right? Show promise. Don't give up so early when you're down in games. This year, I just want to see that mentality change. And overall, I just want to see you win some games you're not supposed to. 7-10, though, solid season for Carolina. Now, last but not least, the Atlanta Falcons are at 7.5 projected wins. Can they go over or under? Well, I think they have a way better roster to make a case for it. You drafted Jalen Walker and James Pierce to help out on that defensive line, though James Pierce, a bit of a questionable trade. Regardless, that defensive line should be a lot better. You also brought in Xavier Watts, I like to call him the X-Man, on the back end of this defense. So he's going to be your Justin Simmons replacement, and this is a guy that was all over the field last year for the Fighting Irish. Again, a team that was in the national title game, and they lost Benjamin Morrison, a key number 1 corner in that defense early on in the season. Xavier Watts had to step up in a lot of different ways, and he did that en route to making the national title. Outside of that, Leonard Floyd you brought in, so now you brought in 3 defensive linemen that should transform this defensive line. You also brought in Xavier Watts to help out on the back end. Love their offseason in that regard. Defense was the focus, and they addressed it. Now, you did lose a lot of key veterans this offseason. Grady Jarrett, who was a franchise legend, I thought he was a 4-lifer. I wanted to see him finish his career in Atlanta. I'm sure, like many Atlanta fans, but that was not the case. Unfortunately, due to salary cap reasons, he's now in Chicago. You lost Matt Judon, you lost Justin Simmons. They're still free agents, so you could bring them in, but as of right now, you don't have them, and ultimately, that's what I'm using my projections off of. Drew Dowman on the center. He was your center on the offensive line. Maybe one of your best offensive linemen next to Chris Lindstrom. This year is about Michael Penix. Will he answer the call? Will he step up to the plate and be successful as a first-year starter in the NFL? I think he will. I think they're going to find success. You're going to go on a bit of a pattern here, which you see with a lot of young teams. You lose the first two. You lose the first game of the year against Tampa Bay. Pressure's on for Michael Penix week one of that game. I think Tampa Bay gets the better of them. I think Tampa's just the better football team. You go into Minnesota, who has a Super Bowl ready roster. We just don't know what J.J. McCarthy is yet. But ultimately, you're going on the road against a very good roster. I gave Minnesota that one. But then you get two big wins to close out your first month of your season going into the bye week. Carolina, that's a divisional game. You should win that one. Washington, big game here. I'm sure Washington fans aren't happy about this, but I gave Atlanta the win there at home in a high-scoring shootout. Michael Penix gets the better of Jaden Daniels. Now, coming out of the bye week, you go on the same stretch. You have two very tough games, then two easier games. So you started the year, you lost two, you won two. Then coming out of the bye, you're losing two, you win two. You're 4-4 at the midseason mark. But how can we close this season? As a young team with talented weapons, how can Michael Penix do to make a playoff push? Well, let's figure it out. Indianapolis, I think you win that one to go 3 straight wins, but then you follow that up with 3 straight losses. Carolina, New Orleans, tough games. You should win them, but ultimately, I gave those wins to your division foe. It's tough to beat a team twice in a season. And then you go into New York against the Jets, likely bad weather. I gave the Jets that one as they're more accustomed to it. Now, I have you beaten Seattle, Tampa Bay, New Orleans, losing games to Arizona and the Rams. You could give this team 1, maybe even 2 games. But ultimately, Atlanta fans, it didn't matter. If you were 10-7 or 8-9, it didn't get you in the playoffs regardless. And honestly, I think that's your range. I think you're an 8-10 win football team this year. But again, due to tiebreakers, it didn't matter as far as you making and missing the playoffs. So promising year, great year on paper even. But you fell short of the playoffs, and I'm just giving you a better draft pick. So here is the tale of the tape in the NFC South in 2025. The Tampa Bay Bucks, like they have in years prior, win the division at 10-7, getting the number 4 seed in the NFC. Atlanta not too far behind at 8-9. Same can be said with Carolina at 7-10. And the Saints wasn't a pretty season, but good news is you get the number 1 overall pick. So Garrett Nussmeier, Drew Allard, maybe if Arch Manning comes out, that could be your quarterback for the future. And I think you have brighter days ahead, New Orleans fans. So just be on the lookout for that. But that is it. That is my NFC South breakdown and predictions for this upcoming season. So if you enjoy, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 18,000. Can't get there without you. Yes, you. But outside of that, drop your predictions, whether by player or team, in the comment section below. I get back to every single one. And next week, we get into the AFC and NFC East. Should be tons of fun. And we're going to kick it off with the AFC East and the reigning MVP and Josh Allen. But until then, get out of here.